Okay, yeah. My name's Zev Howley, and I'm an independent filmmaker from Melbourne, from Balwyn, Melbourne, and I've been making films for at least 10, 15 years now, and I'm loving it. Yeah. The reason why I got into film in the beginning was because I was brought up in a very artistic family. My father is a well-renowned painter, and my mother had an art gallery in the early 80s, and my brother was also a guitarist and photographer as well. So I came from a very artistic family to begin with, so I was sort of born into an arts industry. My passion for filmmaking started when I was 8. I knew I knew I wanted to do something like be a director or an actor or something when I was around 8 years old because I used to sit in front of the TV and watch, films and stuff when I was that age. And I thought, gee, I would like to do that. I think initially I wanted to be an actor, but then it was later on that I decided to change my course and become a director. Yeah, so I actually did acting courses at St. Martin's Youth Theatre when I was a teenager and did lots of shows, lots of productions, lots of theatre shows and stuff like that. And then in 1995, I did a corporate video production course at RMIT. And from then on, I decided, yeah, I wanted to be a director. I teamed up with some really good colleagues and people that studied with me. Yeah, and I teamed up with them, and a lot of the films I made in my early years were from RMIT influence, like friends from RMIT helped me. And actually, the first film I did was Sarah's Jihad, and that was uh, with a big RMIT presence, and a guy called Rowan Humphrey helped me a lot back then. Now he teaches at RMIT. Back then we studied together, and we got together. We we built a team, and we started working on my first short film, Sarah's Jihad. So that's how it all sort of began for me. How I got into film? Um, well, I started learning about film in RMIT at the corporate video production course, and I started writing scripts, uh, dramas, documentaries. I actually started in documentary. My first few films were actually documentaries. So at the beginning, I was very interested in doing documentaries, and before Sarah's Jihad, I made a few documentaries back then, and that sort of want in fuel my passion to go on to dramas and short fiction.
I know that song. Scoot over, let me have a go.
Sorry.
I think that's the song you were trying to play, isn't it?
That song's Stories of Love.
Yeah.
I have it here on my Walkman.
Jed Davis Adams. Such a talent.
Three filmmakers that inspire me the most, I would say, would have to be Clint Eastwood, Aronofsky, and Steven Spielberg. Just because of their sort of social issue content and their deep look into the human condition, and that their films always have something to say about struggles and conflicts and all, and it really means a lot to me, and it's a direction I want to go in very much. So those three filmmakers appeal to me the most. Gran Torino, I would say, would be one of my the most famous film, the best film ever that I really like, Gran Torino, and another film that really inspired me to be a director was American History X, which I thought was really powerful as well. So yeah, the vision I bring into my work is there is a strong social issue component in all of my films, and every film I do, I try to say something about humanity, and I try to bring a quality that is diverse and unique in every aspect of the film, whether it be cinematography or the actors that I use, or like mixed ethnicities. I try to really make it sort of for everyone and available for everyone and open for everyone to sort of look at and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just really important for me to have a really strong social issue base. Yeah. The most favorite film that I've made so far would have to be my film Walkman, just because it took three years to make. I mean, some of my other films took longer, but Walkman was very, very complicated. It involved some special effects. Took 3 years to make, and I had a real fun time going through that whole process, because it was a lot more elaborate than my other films and a lot more complicated. And I wanted to check through, because Walkman was my third short fiction film. I wanted to really challenge myself, so I brought elements into that film that I hadn't brought before into my other films, and I just wanted to challenge myself. So completing it, getting through it, was a big plus for me, because sometimes you don't know, because it was on it was a year. There was a gap of a year where I filmed some scenes, and due to work and people's availability, there was a big gap of a year where nothing was done on it, and I thought, is this film ever gonna be finished? But I saw it through and finished it, which I was very happy with. So yeah, I'd have to say Walkman. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The film I'm currently working on at the moment, I'm writing a feature film called Love Sand, and already I've been working on it 2 or 3 years now. And I'm still writing it. It's probably going to take a few more years. But yeah, it's a long process, and I've got some very solid ideas for that film. It's a science fiction, which science fiction is one of my most favorite genres that I like. And I'm trying to write it so that I can film it on a low budget, which you got to take a lot of things into account when you're doing a science fiction film. So it's going to take a while, but I'm really happy with how it's going, and because I'm juggling work full time, it's going to take quite a while, but I'm sure when it's completed, it'll be really good. Yeah. The biggest challenge that faces the Australian film industry, I feel, is funding. It's very hard for filmmakers to get any sort of support from the government or fund their own films, or even philanthropy or anything like that. It seems very, very difficult. And I think filmmakers have to really basically work many jobs to try and earn money to try and do their own films, because I don't feel that there's a lot of support for independent filmmakers or filmmakers in general. Even the well-established filmmakers find it hard to get funding. So if the well-established filmmakers are finding it very difficult, you can imagine how difficult it's 10 times that for the independent filmmakers. So I just feel funding is one of the major obstacles at the moment, and I feel that if there's a way to I don't know, get more philanthropy into the film industry, where people can or crowdfunding is another avenue. I think a lot of filmmakers go to crowdfunding to fund their projects now. But it would be nice if, there was more support, and I feel that's really lacking at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, my future projects include I have ideas for 2 or 3 new short films that I want to be, and I think I'm going in a bit of a more comedy sort of avenue at the moment, because my last film was a bit of a comedy fantasy. So I've got a couple of shorts in mind that are more comedic sort of thing. So that's where I want to go with the next 2 or 3 shorts that I'm working on at the moment. And documentaries. I'm going to continue making documentaries. In fact, my last documentary, The Enlightened State of Tara, has done very well in overseas film festivals, and I'm planning to follow up on more artistic documentaries, like on artists or writers or whatever, or sculptors, which is Enlightened State of Tara is about Barbara, who's a sculptor, makes this Buddhist statue. So yeah, I'm hoping to do some more documentaries. I've got some ideas, so yeah, that'd be great. What makes a good name for a production company? It's a good question. Something that is probably got a punch to it. My production company, I've sort of gone in between Zevolation or Zoom Evolution. I'm trying to incorporate my name Zev in the production company name as a sort of like a gimmick thing. So I think something that's memorable, that can be memorable and punchy, is probably, if you can think of something memorable and punchy, that would be a good thing for a production name. So I'm still trying to work out which one I'm going to go for, but I'm still trying to see which one I like and stuff.
Thank you to all of the United States armed servicemen and women, and to all of our allies. I am happy to announce that major military involvement has come to an end and that our forces have triumphed.
The process I go through when choosing actors, I like to meet with them first and talk to them, get to know them, and talk about the role that I've got in mind for them. I don't like to audition actors. I prefer maybe to see their show reel or see what they've done before, have a talk to them, get to know them. I just feel auditioning is, I don't know, it's a bit cutthroat, and I feel, a lot of things come into an audition, like nerves and so forth. So, and, I've been an actor myself, so I know how demoralizing it can be when you get rejected. So I don't want to put someone through that myself. I rather just see what they've done, talk to them about the film, the project, see if we click, that kind of thing. So that's the process I'd like to follow through, and it's a process that I've sort of done throughout nearly all my films. The only film that I did audition for was Sarah's Jihad, and that was my first film, because my network back then, I was just starting out. I didn't have much of a network or knowledge of actors or actresses out there, so that was the only time. Yeah. What's the biggest challenge I've encountered in film? You mean my own films? Yeah. Okay, the biggest challenge I've encountered making my own films was, I guess, trying to stick to a schedule, uh, and do the production within that schedule. Like if it's a few days, you can plan as much as you want to shoot it in the time that you've allocated for it. But things happen that sometimes are completely out of your control, and you have to deal with it at the time. So I think it's important to have a really calm approach if things go wrong or if things change. I know I can give you an example of this, a very clear cut example of this. The like on Broken Superman, it was the most challenging short film I made because I had a lot of problems happen on that leading up to it and in the making. And I'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, 3 weeks before the shoot, I lost the DOP, I lost the location, and I lost the main actors. So that was a really, really big hurdle I had to get through. So I think within 24 hours, I got it all back. So I had to work really hard and I was stressed. And I just had to believe that something positive is going to happen from this. So yeah, like I said, within 24 hours, I got another location. I replaced the lead actors and I replaced the cinematographer, which was great because I don't like canceling a shoot. That's the other thing about myself. If I commit to the days that I'm going to shoot a film, I'm not going to cancel it. I really don't like canceling it. So I will do everything in my power to stick to those days, to stick to what I've allowed myself to do. So because it would cause great disappointment if it all fell through. So that was the first thing on Broken Superman. Second thing that happened on Broken Superman, on I think it was the first day of the shoot when I was directing, I pulled a muscle in my leg. So I had to continue directing even though I couldn't hardly walk. It was very painful. So I just wrapped some bandages around my leg and I kept directing until the shoot was over, even though I was in a lot of pain. And I probably should have stopped straight away and put ice on it and everything. But I didn't. I didn't do that. I just kept going. And the next day, I was on crutches for the whole month. I couldn't walk. And I had to go to hospital. So, and that happened on set when I injured my leg. I was trying to catch a marble table from falling on the ground. And I went to run to try and catch it. And I pulled a muscle in my leg. So, I mean, that was, that I couldn't, that was crazy that happened. But, once again, I just kept going on with the shoot. I didn't want to stop. I had some of my first and second IDs help me a lot during that time. Like, I delegated to them to direct some of the scenes at that point. So, but the shoot carried on. Yeah. I believe it's very important to give unknown actors a chance. And I've done this in all my films, but particularly my last film, I think she said her name was. Most of the cast were not actors. And some had done a little bit of acting, some had done no acting. And the irony of that was that short film has been my most successful short film so far, which is a bit of an irony, because it won Best Film in 2 independent film festivals, and I was just rapt about that, and I guess because it was a departure from my other work, which was heavy social issue content. It was a comedy fantasy, so in that respect, I think a lot of people enjoyed it. But I had most of the cast; they were non-experienced actors, and I like to work with non-experienced actors because sometimes you get more of a real performance, because they haven't got all that training behind them. They're not referring to something when they're on set. It's just very natural. Sometimes, but I have to say, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it also depends on the director too. If you can encourage that person and give them suggestions on how to do, or give them the right direction, then you will get a good result. And I think I was very rapt that that film has done quite well on that respect. Yeah, I believe my career is going to be based in Melbourne for quite a while. I think it's gonna I'll be in Melbourne for at least 2 or 3 more years, 4 more years. I'm very much if it happens that I go overseas to make productions, then it happens. But I'm not. I'm a realist. I mean, I like to be positive. I'd like to think that in the future that I will be working overseas in America or Britain or wherever, or Europe. That would be terrific. I'd love that. If that happens, well, that's fantastic. However, if my career stays in Australia and Melbourne, I'll be happy with that too, because I'll just keep plugging away until I try to make something happen. But I know the reality of the industry, and I know the obstacles you face as a filmmaker. So I am grounded as a realist. So yeah, but I'll keep plugging away at it, and hopefully, yeah, it would be great if I was to do productions overseas. What advice would I give to some filmmakers who want to become a filmmaker? My advice to them would be not to put all their eggs in one basket, not to rely on the film industry to make money. Have a steady job as well while you're doing filmmaking, and just work on your own stuff. It's okay to help people for experience and get out there, but if you've got a vision and you want to grow, I really think you should concentrate on your own stuff and see where that gets you.